My name is Mohammed Sharif, and sorry to tell you I'm not an activist or I'm not a doctor here, but I am an Alliance Community Clinic part owner, which will be opening in August. I'd like to start with that. I'm here today to show support for my sister. After reading this book, Halima, I want to say that I really admire you. I really do. It's an honor to have you here in Seattle and being part of our family. And Halima has went through a lot. Only people that are very close, like myself and my family, only would know her struggles. This book means a lot. Not only she just started writing, Halima's been writing for a while, almost I would say about 15 years now. After reading this book, Halima, it's not only just a writer, she's also involved heavily in her community. She's been in Seattle, not Seattle, well, today she's been in Seattle, but she's been in Arizona, Minnesota, and other parts of this country that she had events, Ohio. Halima is, she's really a person that's very strong. I mean, I can't really imagine just fighting with this disease and living. It's just amazing. I'd like to welcome Halima Abdirazak right now to the stage. Please come up, Halima.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, everybody. I'm a little bit nervous, so give me a break. I am happy to be here today among people who are eagerly awaiting to read this book, fascinating book of my father's legacy. A Somali woman's journey from Somalia to U.S. As I stand in front of you all today, it is very difficult for me to share my experience of war, refugee camps, my father's death, and my own cancer survival diagnosis. I was 7 years old when the civil war that had erupted on the streets of Mogadishu, Somalia. I vividly remember walking out school into streets filled with chaos, gunfire, bloodshed all around me. From that day onwards, my life was constantly changing for the worse, and I found out how strong I was. My father, who worked for the United Nations, had to flee from Somalia, from the city of Mogadishu to Kismayo immediately without his family. Soon the rest of my family and I followed him as we were leaving Mogadishu. I was devastated to see the beautiful Mogadishu covered in blood. As of a little girl, I was traumatized to witness men, women, and children gunned down in the streets I once played in. With the grace of Allah, we arrived in Kismayo to reunite with our beloved father in our grandparents' house. My parents decided to leave the country and go to Kenya for the safety of their children. We arrived in Kenya after surviving our ship sinking off the coast of Kenya, but our ordeal was far from over. Even though we only stayed in Otanga camp for 2 years, but it felt as if it were eternity. Otanga camp had its trials and tribulations. With the help of my uncle, we left the refugee camp and traveled all the way to India. We stayed there for a few months, but my family decided to move to the neighboring country of Pakistan for the next 9 years. The first 4 years in Pakistan, we lived without our father. Our beloved mother worked hard day in, day out to make sure my siblings and I had a roof on our head, food on our table, and it was a bit tough for my mother to take care of 5 of her children, plus 2 sisters, 1 brother, 4 nephews, and 1 cousin, without my father. My mother is the most unselfish person I've ever met. She made sure each and every child in the house were treated equal, going to school, cooking, cleaning, and making sure everyone were at their best. I remember my mother would not eat until all of us ate. Wouldn't go to bed until every last one of us were asleep. Finally, my father arrived from Kenya. There was a huge relief for her as he resumes his duties as a father and a husband. He made sure his wife was happy. That was his first priority before anything else. Their love and joy for each other is what made us strong as children. In June 2000, we came to the United States of America, and 2 months later, my father passes away for liver cancer. Losing my father was perhaps one of the hardest things I ever had to deal with. He left many times, but this time he was leaving for good. But he remained in our spirit. It was hard on my mother once again, resume again his duties, as well living life without him. Each trials and tribulations was nothing without him for all of us. In our culturally, the oldest child automatically takes the responsibility of the house, of the head of the household, but in this case, I took that accidentally, and I don't know how to take my father's shoes out of my feet. I can never fill my father's shoes, but try my best to keep his legacy. I never thought in a million years I would be having surgery, let alone to receive a diagnosis of ovarian cancer. In 2009, July 9th, I was diagnosed with dystrominoma, which is a very rare ovarian cancer. And it happens between the ages of 20 and 30, not before or beyond those ages. My life changes forever. With the doctor calling me and said, I don't know how to tell you the news I have for you. And I said, what, doctor? And she said, you have a dystrominoma. And that word minoma is what I understood. And I asked and said, what kind of cancer is it? She said, it is an ovarian cancer, but a very rare cancer. As I hung up the phone and I cried and cried, continuously cried, and asked myself, why me? Why me when I'm good to my family? Why me when I'm good to my mother? Why me when I'm fulfilling, trying my best, my father's duties? And why me? To my mother and fulfilling my father's duties, then my younger brother came and said, what is wrong with you, sister? And I explained to him, and he said, sometimes American doctors might not be right of their diagnosis, but if it is true, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing your patience, wants to see how strong can you be. Stop crying, turning yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and be patient with his scary diagnosis. My mother came, as well as the remaining of my siblings. None of them believe these doctors were right at any given time, even today. I'm going to read the book from the beginning, and I will also read another passage towards the end. The first part is, over the loudspeaker, I hear crackling of static and the voice of our principal. His words echoed the little classroom I was sitting in, and on that fateful October afternoon, I put my pencil down and listened as he spoke. He was telling us that the school was dismissed and that the war had begun in our country, and we all needed to get to the safety of our homes as soon as possible. His voice was strange. It held the sound of fear in it. Second part of the book is, the nurses put me on a bed in the hallway of the ER, and it seemed with every step they took, the pain in my abdomen increased. They laid me on the bed, but once they left, I was up and down from the bed to the floor, grabbing my stomach and looking for some way to relieve even a little bit of the pain. I tried to curl into a ball on the floor, to stretch out on the bed and hold my stomach, and to put my knees on the floor and my head on the bed. I felt a strong urge to go to the bathroom, and I also wanted to vomit, but nothing came out for me. The hardest part of writing my memoir was reliving my past not so great memories, memories that I buried in the back of my mind, memories I refused to talk about it with anyone. My main goal of sharing my story is to inspire others. Past pain and suffering will always be part of your life, but they don't define you. You can motivate that experience to strong yourself, to pull yourself up when everything else is pushing you down, and to never lose a hope when the odds are against you. My extraordinary life story, which I survived so many painful trials, is still remain a strong-willed Muslim woman whom was raised to believe that there is no limits in life, and I still believe that. Today, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a few people that put me on this stage, brought me to this great, beautiful state. There is a young man who I love so much, who is close to my heart, who is the reason that I wrote this book, and who managed my time of writing this book to share with everybody and not to be afraid. And that is my manager sitting right there at the end, and his name is Mahdi Jamali. There he is. I also want to thank Muhammad Awdon, who found me on Facebook and inboxed me to get my number and he's been bothering me every day till today to come to this estate and share my life and my story with you all. And then there's another one, and her name, she is also close to my heart. She's one of the people that I look up to. She is someone that I'm very close to, and she's also very close to my heart. And her name, she's sitting right there on the pink jacket. Her name is Anisa Jamale. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't her, and I wouldn't be standing in front of you if it wasn't her as well. Then there is this lovely young man standing right there. Without him in Seattle is an empty box for me. And every day the day I met him till today, he calls me and bugs me and tells me what to do and tells me how to share, not to be strong, not to be afraid, and be strong and be somebody. And I love him so much, Muhammad Sharif. And each and every one of you who are here, Muhammad Adan, and I want to say thank you so much for the invitation, all of you. I only said very little. What I said is nothing until you all read my story, and my book is right there. Get up and buy, share with your friends and your colleagues and your family, and thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Halima. That is, takes a real woman with a big heart to stand over here and share her stories in front of many of you guys tonight. You know, I would say this book, it's not a money to her bank. It's money that's for good cause. Please, if you didn't buy the book, it's right there. I'm selling it. Maddie's selling it. It's all going for a good cause. So please go out and go buy that book. And if you already purchased one, please purchase it for your family members. That would be really great. Right now, again, Halima, thank you very much for being here.